Hi, this is Rabbi Sachs. Welcome to the Chai Academy. I'm one of the rabbis, I should say, at the Chai Center, and we give this class daily, Monday through Thursday, and it is different courses, different classes. We are going through Genesis, right? We're going through Genesis, essentially chapter 1, and we've been discussing the different days of creation. So this would be the fifth day that we'll be discussing. Yesterday, or whenever the last class, we discussed the sun, the moon, and the stars, and perfection of creation. Just amazing. If the speed of light and the size of sun and where the sun is located, etc. Just incredible. So today we're going to go into day 5. And each class, by the way, is self-encapsulated. You don't have to watch the previous class to see this class. And you can always find reviews of this class and other ones at thechaicenter.com/Chai Academy. We're also coming out shortly with a YouTube channel with not only my classes, but other classes as well from others. So it would be a truly a learning channel on YouTube, and you can subscribe. We'll get back to you in the future about that. So the fifth day of creation. I'll tell you something the Talmud says about the fifth day of creation. The Talmud says that whoever was born on a Thursday, whoever was born on a Thursday tends to be very kind innately. And the Talmud explains why. Why, if you're born on the Thursday, are you kind? He says because the birds and the fish, which were created on the fifth day, he says they are fed by the kindness of God. So I guess the birds, there's plenty of worms for them to eat, but the fish, they eat the plankton. Most fish eat plankton. So it's the kindness of God. A fish never starves. A bird never starves. And it was God who was incredibly kind on that day to take care of fish and birds. So therefore, whoever was born on the fifth day of the week, on a Thursday, generally tends to be very kind. So that, just figured that as a preface. But what does it say in the Torah? It says that the God created on the fifth day the fish and the fish of the sea, and then it says that God created the not only the birds, but God created every creepy crawly, every insect, every species of insect was created on the Thursday. So here's just an interesting point, that a little gnat was created before the human being. Right, the smallest little invisible, I don't know what they're called, clopids or something like that. They're in the water. I can only be seen under a microscope. Were created before the human being. So, what does that teach us? It teaches us, I think, humility. That don't be so haughty. Don't be so great. Don't be so arrogant, because the smallest gnat was created before you. It also teaches us that God respected the human being, that everything was ready. The human being was the last to be created. So everything was ready for the human being. But it just puts things in perspective. There's two ways of looking at it, half full, half empty. So one way is that the smallest gnat was created before you, teach you to be humble. And the other is that God really prepared things for you. So it's seemingly from the Torah, and it's hard to and Rashi says something, but maybe it's Nachmanides says that it seems like the birds started off in the water. that everything on that day was water related. If not the birds, definitely the creepy crawlies. Definitely and not only creepy crawlies, on that day was also created any small insect that is low to the ground. So a mouse was created on that day, a weasel, a chipmunk, um, an opossum was created on the day. Any type of thing that's very, very low to the ground. Um, and so anyway, so it seems like it all started in the water, and from there, it proceeded to go. Certain things went on earth. It also says in the fifth day, he says, Vayivra, God created. Now, God, in Genesis, it uses the term creation 3 times. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. It speaks about how God created man. And one other time, it says that God created, on the 5th day, Taninim Gedolim, large sea monsters. Plural. So he created this sea monster. It's hard to know what it is. Maybe that's the Loch Ness monster. But Taninim, Rashi says that they were actually too big. 2 of them were too big. So Rashi says, and this is based on a Talmud, based on a Midrash, Rashi says that one God took out of commission, and the other one is still alive. So and lives for eternity. So there's this sea monster, maybe the Loch Ness monster, that has been created. It's this huge fish, and there's a term for it you may have heard, Leviathan or Leviathan. Right, Leviathan Christians have adopted to be something evil and something, but we don't have that concept. Leviathan is this large fish, and that's a sea monster. It's a sea beast. That's what it is. And Taninim plural, but Rashi says only one actually lived. So and how big is it? The Talmud talks about it that it was 5 parsangs long, and it was which is, I don't know, like a mile long. It's some ridiculous amount. Also, I think Greek philosophy talks about Leviathan as this large sea beast. But regardless, it is God created that on that day. Now, the God then blessed. God blessed the fish and the birds and the creepy crawlies. God blessed them, and he says God bless them. So and then he says, be fruitful and multiply. So the bird on the 5th day, whatever was created on the 5th day, God blessed them, and he said, be fruitful and multiply. So Rashi says something fascinating. Rashi says that God had to bless the fish. Had to. He says because mankind overfish. Right? So mankind overfish, and if God didn't bless them, we would run out of fish, and it would create not only less food for mankind, but it'd also be deleterious to the oceans. In fact, the Center for Marine Study said that by the year 2048 or 2050, we will actually be at a crisis in terms of fish. But Rashi says that God blessed them because otherwise they would have been done. So it needed a special blessing because of overfishing or overhunting. Now you could, if you go to a chicken plant, I think you'll also get that same feeling that there's just too many chickens being taken off, off the streets and into the shops. It seems. So anyway, God said Vayivra. Going back to that, he created. it's hard to understand why. We understand why he said it to man, because man had a purpose, and everything was created for man. But why by this big fish does it say tanyinim? By Yivra does it say that he created? It's a good question, and I've looked and searched and just made an observation. There must be some reason why it said he created. He created. Now, so the birds and the animals and the creepy crawlies were blessed. Interesting to note that when God created the other animals, every other animal, right, he didn't bless them through a revu. He did not. He did not say, may you be fruitful and multiply. And let's take a look, right? We know that there's in this world today, there's 400 billion birds. 400 billion birds. There's not 400 billion elephants or rhinos or hippos. There's not. There's not 400 billion rabbits. There's just not. Right? So he didn't use the blessing. He told them to be fruitful and multiply, but it never says by Yivarach, and he blessed. Right? We also know that the fish, I think it's 3,500,000,000,000,000, I think was what last I saw, of how many fish. Just think of that number. But they do fish probably 1 trillion a year. So incredible amounts of fish. And of course insects is 10 quintillion. So it's unbelievable. You just don't have those numbers in any other form, right? But only on that day where it says God blessed. So there's something to that blessing that we didn't have on the 5th day, that we didn't have on the 6th day when God created everything else, including mankind. So these numbers are just incredible. In the verses, God said that he created each one of the fish to its own kind, and each one of the birds to its own kind, and each one of the insects to his own kind. So Nachmanides talks about the concept that they were all created and they didn't evolve one from another, right? And even though scientists says that this one evolved into this one evolved into this, I don't know how many halfway fossils they found. So, but according to the Torah, it seems like that there was no dinosaurs were dinosaurs, and birds were birds, and the birds did not evolve from the dinosaurs. Birds were created, and there's I think there's 20,000 species of birds or fish. I think there's 20,000 species of fish. So it's not that they had to evolve into anything else. In fact, if you take up the evolutionists say that first came fish, then came land and plants, and then came animals. From the Torah, right, the plants on the earth were created first, then came the fish and birds, and then came the animals. So the Torah is actually at odds with the way the evolutionists say the world evolved. The Torah is at odds. First came the plant life. And if you think about it, and this is not me saying, this is also like a commentary, an obscure commentary, I don't remember. It says that the God created plant life because he knew he was creating the animals, and he knew he was and he knew the fish had to eat, and he knew the corals, and he knew the birds had to, right? So he could not create plant life after. He had to create plant life before. Now, you were discussing yesterday about the perfect, how God created the sun, perfect distance from this world, so we don't get too hot, too cold, and the earth spins at a certain speed, perfect speed on its axis, etc. Also, if you take a look at a bird, it's just an incredible invention, right? When a bird flies, the feathers spread, so they get no resistance. If they want to attain lift, then they close their feathers. The bones are so incredibly light. Even the jaw, the beak, is made out of keratin. You know, the nail material. It's not like what we have, a heavy jaw. It's extremely light. So the bird was designed for flying, right? And the human being was not designed for flying. The bird was designed for perfect takeoff, for perfect land. Just incredible, just incredible. And in fact, we learned how to fly from the bird. So when God created the bird, it was to perfection. Now, the amount of fish in the sea, we haven't even begun to explore how many, what is exactly down there. I mean, we know we have these obscure anglerfish and, you know, the black swallowfish by the Mariana Trench, etc. So we know we have this, but in 2000, a scientist started a marine search, and within 10 years, I mean, they've come up with thousands of species they didn't know they had, and in one day they found 700 different types of crustaceans, all in the size of a bathtub, and there were different species. So we have no idea what is really down there. We have no idea. I think we just the tip of the iceberg. The Talmud does say that for every animal above land, there is an animal or a fish below land with similar habits, similar tastes. Right? So there is, according to the Talmud, there is a fish that actually tastes like beef. There is a fish, maybe tuna. You know, maybe you take a tuna steak, it really looks the part. But it is what is down in the seas. Even 2020, we haven't fully explored. You should take a look. By the way, this black swallow, I think it's called black swallowfish, where the stomach, it's the lowest. I think it's the lowest depth fish. And it goes lower than any other fish, and that is lower than the whales, etc. Has no natural predator. It has teeth, and its stomach, actually, it's an upside down snail, because its stomach, when it eats, gets bigger. Just incredible stuff. There is a commentary. That says, if you notice, on the first day God created darkness and light. Darkness alludes to good, and light is good, synonymous with good. It's light, it's bright, it's clear, and darkness is doubt. The second day God created, right? He separated upper waters, lower waters, upper being spiritual, good, down here being corporeal. On the third day, God he cleared away a path, so waters can be here, and human beings should be able to be on land. There was always a double thing going on. Wednesday, it seems like it was only in the upper. However, of course, the moon affects the tides, etc. But the commentary says that we see it's obvious. On Thursday, he created fish in the sea, which is under the earth, lower than sea level, and birds, which are above. So he created the concept that yes, there's this, and except for the fourth day, but every day there seems to be this message of you have to be you have to be spiritual, but you also have to live as well, physical, light and darkness. Yeah, you can't just only be spiritual. You have to also have your school of hard knocks, and you have to do things that are not necessarily always spiritual. That's the first day. Here, the fifth day is sort of the same message, is that you can't only have your head in the clouds. Your person cannot only study all day. A person has to know that they also you have to fish. You have to go to work. You have to be productive. So the birds are synonymous with heads in the clouds, and but you also have to be grounded, and you have to get your feet wet. So I found that very interesting. The I was trying to think. There's one other thing. Yeah, is that when God said that the birds should be of their kind and the fish should be of their kind, we the birds, you'll never find a mixture naturally between a chicken and a raven. Chickens stick to chicken, ravens stick to ravens, crows stick to crows, and blackbirds stick to blackbirds. They may look alike, they may seem alike, but they don't mix. Right? There's no crossbreed that happens naturally. A shark doesn't mate with a whale. It just doesn't happen. So each one has its own kind, and I believe the next day God also mentions about its kind, that the only creation that can mess with God's creation is the human being. He can take a horse, and he can take a donkey and make them. Naturally, they wouldn't do it. Naturally, it wouldn't happen. It just wouldn't happen. Fish mate with fish, their own kind. Birds mate with their own kind. Horse mates with its own kind, etc. The only one that can really mess this up and create turmoil is the human being. But otherwise, animals are instinctual. They know what they have to do, and they're not led astray by anything. Now, granted, they don't have free will, but even innately, just behaviorally, just naturally, they will not stray. They will not stray. So just and I was reading recently that there's dogs that they mate to have this fancy breed. It's really a mutt, but you want to have a mini golden doodle. That has to be done in a test tube, because God didn't make it for it to be this way. That there should be a mini golden doodle. There was a golden retriever and a poodle. You want to stop mating a mini poodle with a golden retriever, it can't be done naturally. It has to be done. They're test tube babies. It's only man that can take it a step further than probably what God wanted. If you have questions, rabbi@thehighcenter.com, and or you can leave a message right here in Facebook. God bless.